everybody, it's David R. Becker, and we're with BeckerArt, and today we're doing a sparkling swan. So we've done one already this afternoon, and I'll show you in a second, but welcome everybody, welcome all you newcomers. I met some people last night at a demonstration where I did a pencil demonstration. And so this year, remember in the beginning of the year, I said that we shouldn't do any New Year's resolution, and instead just have fun and paint with different things, different objects, and so different materials, and that's what I did. And so I've been working with pencils, a whole bunch of colored pencils, and also if you look at my Facebook page, you see what I just posted that not too long ago. And I've also been doing oils on paper, on Legion oil paper that I just came out with. So have some fun. Forget about the New Year's resolution. It's too late anyways. And so welcome, guys. Today I have a beer that's local. It's from Glenview, Illinois, and it's called the 1090 Brewery. And this is a half-wit beer. And this is for me, the half-wit. And so it's a Belgian-style ale brewed from orange peel and coriander. I'm gonna see what that tastes like. So, welcome again, everybody. Let's see who's here. We got Katie, Sue, Barbara, Vicky, and Barbara. So let me just pour this right this time. So local beer. So we'll see how a local beer is. Oh, terrible pour. All right, so we'll get going. We'll let that settle. We'll go on to there. So what I did this afternoon, it was okay, but I'm going to do a couple of little different things. Here's what I did this afternoon in my class. Let's go farther back so you can see it. So that's what I did this afternoon, and I changed a few things, but I'm going to change them again, and so I'll let you know what that is. And so for all you newcomers, we also right away go to our website, which is still not working. I'm working with the people that so I can press a button and actually show you. I can't slide down from this. But this is my website, BeckerArt.net, for anybody that's new. I know I may have some people from last night at the demonstration that wanted to see what we're doing. So BeckerArt.net is my website. That's where you find where we're repainting. And my supplies we use are all Holbein brushes, which have my name on it. And we have the watercolors. And I just put this up there so you can come back if you want to see what I'm actually using. And let's go right up to the value study and figure out what we're doing here. So if you look right here, this is the color version, and I just noticed a couple things different from my. It's a square image, so that's one thing. It's usually hard to do a square image. So what we're doing is I'm kind of elongating it and making it horizontal. It's just something I feel was better than what it was. I mean, if you want to do it square, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just put, like, my area center of interest would be in this area over here, and it's going to be elongated more on this side and on this side. But also, if you see here, and I'll show you what I had done, the colors and stuff, I kind of was going, I thought at first I was going to go with a vignetted style where I'm going to keep away the paper and not just make it and then use stencils, but I decided halfway through that I wasn't going to do that. And so what we're going to do is basically the swans are light and the background is dark, though in this image what I did is I actually put sparkle in here and I lit up this part of the water which wasn't in the photograph. So I did that in Photoshop to show you that I wanted to have this light going right through here with sparkle, and it just makes it a little bit nicer, I thought, than just having a solid lake back there and just use the reflections. You can do that too. I just always like to make my paintings a little bit more dazzling, I guess. So here we go. We'll go to our tabletop and show you what I had done. So here again is what I had done. And if you notice too, and we talked about my painting here as I was leaving today, and I asked the students, what do you think I could do better? And what we thought was I wanted to make this like a vignette, and so make these areas white. I had them white at one time, and I kept on putting blue, and I made these part darks because it's sort of like a cross. It's like a yin yang thing. I don't think it worked out that great. It's still fine, and I'm going to make this a little bit lighter down here because now everything's light. And so the force of this light right here that I put in was something I wanted to put in so that it would be bright, and then the swans would light up, and they're just lit up. But now, because this water's light and this water's light, that makes it so that everything's light and nothing is particularly light and by itself. So the swans are really lit up right here with the sparkle in the water, and I didn't even get the sparkle bright enough. I mean, if you want sparkle, you gotta make them white. because they're blinding in your eye, and so that's what you want. And so I'm going to keep this spot a little bit lighter, and I'm going to darken this area down here. I will still keep some of the light. I will do a backlit, the rim lighting on it. So I will do that on this one, and I may make this side darker and this side darker, and so that's what we're gonna do. All right. So it's always neat to try it twice, and because it's not a bad painting, but I think we can do it better. And also the color. I just used blue with no other color, and you know me, I don't ever do that. For some reason, I just used the 3 blues I had on there and didn't put any green in there, which I probably should have because it makes it turquoise, right? And so I'm going to go with a little bit more turquoise on this one. So questions, and let's see what this beer tastes like. So again, Glenview half-wit beer, a Belgian-style ale. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers to a good start of the Swans. Oh, that's good. A little bitter for my taste, but I'm going to give it a 9. So, 9. I'm not really into really bitter beers, the IPAs and stuff, but that's just me. So, but it's actually very good. All right, so let's go. Let me see any questions. Looking forward to the demo. I want to know more about the stencils you use. Okay, we were going to try to do some stencils on this, but it didn't fit this. Because if we put stencils in there, it would have to be more vignette, and then where you would leave some of the white of the paper, and then use the stencil as a design, and not so much making it look like a photograph of a place. It's more like it would be an abstract background. They're in the water, but then I would make it sort of like a more of a abstract background, and I would have not made it so like it's what you see in a photograph. It would be just a design of these swans inside a background, which is water, and the designs of the stencils. And stencils are actually really easy to use. I can show you that one time, and maybe we'll do one. That's a good idea to maybe do a demonstration just of using stencils and stuff like that. All right. So let's see other questions. Do you use China white? No, I do not use China white. I use titanium white. Titanium white is opaque white. Chinese white is transparent white, and so that's what you get when you put it on there. It is transparent. And actually, I was talking to the class about that, and also they have a thing called Pro White or Blackout White that comes in these little jars, and that's what people used to use in the key line paste up days when they used to mark out. It's almost like whiteout, and that was pretty white. So I'm probably going to see if I can't get some Pro White, it's called. Anything else? I might try the broken effect for the sparkle. And you can also use, if you want, you can use masking fluid. Put masking fluid down and you apply the paper. That way, when you rub it out, you'll have white of the paper. So I could do that, but then I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. So we get going here. All right, here's my brushes. Let's get going. And actually, we start right away with I should ask you, what should we start with? So what we do start out with is the lights, right? And so that would mean the swans. It's not about the background going far back. It's about the swans being the lightest, and you always go with light to dark. And so I'm going to just go right in. Almost went on my beer. And so we're going to go right into the swan. I'm going to wet the whole swan's head here. And it's actually a very fast painting because you get the swans done pretty quickly, and then right away you go right into the background. So, light, background, medium light, and then you just do your darks. And it's pretty simple and very fast painting to do. I'm going to keep everything wet into wet because I want the soft edges. And I'm starting out with a little lavender, of course. I can start out with some lavender, some purple, which I love. And then I'll go right into putting color into that area too. And again, the light's coming from back and behind them kind of. It's a sparkle going to go right through there. And so I'm going to keep the edges kind of a little nice and vibrant. I'll put a little salmon-y color with a pink. I have a pink, the shell pink, and a little bit of orange, and I'm going to put that on the edge here a little bit. And I'm letting it float, and so it'll be automatically soft-edged, right? And learn to use enough pigment. That's what controls your edges, is the amount of pigment you use. I've been talking about that a lot lately. It's only because it's very important for you to learn that. And so I'm going to put a little bit of warmth. See, I'm making this this swan a little bit more warm than you see in the photograph. In the photograph, it's pretty blue and a lot of purple and blue type of thing, and of course orange and this yellowish color will make it kind of gray. But that's okay. I have a little gray in there too. I'll put a little blue in there also, because if the background's going to be blue, I'm going to put a little blue in there. And yes, it may turn a little green, but more or less turquoise is what it's going to be. It's going to be like a turquoise color, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with turquoise. That's my favorite green. Turquoise color. I'll go down here, go right into this area. And don't leave the area until you feel like it's done. Like that, when the swan's neck is done, then move on. And actually, I put a little bit too much paint right here, so I'm going to pull this out a little bit. And get in here with a little bit more of the violet again. Creating the edge right there. Then I'm going to do the whole wing right here. And I'm not going to wet the whole bird. I'm going to wet it as I go along here. I'm just going to go right into here, wet into the feathers. And this is not my darks. It looks dark, but it's not dark. You watch when I put the water in, this becomes very, very light. Will you be mentioning the specific color of paints you are using? Yes, I do. Normally, like I said, lavender, shell pink, and so yes, I do. Is floating your pigment the same as charging a wash? I think so. I think other people say it differently. I've watched a lot of artists, and we all have our different ways of saying the same thing. And my way of saying it, yeah, is charging the water. It's basically a puddle of water, and what we're doing is taking and putting in the pigment and letting it float. And if that means charging the what'd you say? Charging the wash, then yeah, that's kind of the same thing. Same type of thing. And I'm going to make it a little warm here, a little bit of pink. Pink, what is pink? Pink is red with white in it. And so it's a pastel kind of looking color. But why, as watercolors, are we not allowed to use pastel colors? Because it's always been said that, you shouldn't use white, you shouldn't use white. But pink is a white red. White and red mixed together make a pink, and so why wouldn't you be able to use it? It's just weird that we were never allowed to use white, but to get pink you need white on your red. So that's but I just buy a red, and that's fine, and I put a little orange in that pink and make it kind of a coral color, coral right there. See, I'm gonna go up there. I'm leaving this white. That'll be white. I'll go back to the white of the paper. I'll go back in there, and I'll get that part. And again, I can put a little blue in there too, a little bit of darker blue in there. And I'm doing it all wet in the wet, but you see how it just blends itself together, soft. It looks like feathers. Well, that's what we're going to do. Keep it wet. You can't get a soft, feathery look if you're doing it hard-edged. It'll give you a certain kind of style. I mean, you can get it to where it's all hard-edged and you go to the edge where it's hard, but keep that not too contrasted, because if it's contrasted and it's going to be hard, it won't look soft. And so we wanted to keep it soft. Thanks for all these questions, guys. I'm glad I'm looking up. Do you send fun for the sparkle? So we'll go in here, make this a little bit warm. I'm putting some parts a little bit warmer than you see it. I got a watermark right there, but I can't do anything about that right now, unless I take the water out a little bit. Let's see. Let's take the water out. There we go. So there's a way of taking the water out of the equation there. If you start seeing a watermark, take the water out that's a little bit wetter than the surface above it. Then if it's all even, because what you're wanting to do is always keep your washes even in wetness, because then you won't get watermarks. It's a good way of just alleviating any kind of watermarks, is just to make sure that your washes are all the same. The water is the same throughout. Here I'm wetting it as I go along. I'm going to leave a little bit of the white of the tail back here, and I am painting with inside the swan, but I really don't have to, in the fact that this is going to be darker. But just since it's not that hard, and why should I go around it? I'm going to be putting a white edge on there anyways later with white paint. So I could do it with masking fluid, but I really don't like using masking fluid that much. And now I'm going to go and negative paint these feathers real quickly right here. See, I have them drawn in, so automatically they pop forward because I'm going around them. So that's negative painting, and it goes right to the background here, into the back feathers. And so I'm actually painting two things at once. I'm painting the back feather wing, and I'm also getting the front wing by negative painting it. So that's what you go for negative painting. And it's not as hard as you think if you just keep in mind that you're doing two things at once. You're doing the front and the back, and you're creating two shapes at once. And so this wing has a little bit of white right there at the end. And now I'm just going to get float some color in there again. Float some color. it's nice to have the floating color, or what'd you call it again? The charging the wash, or charging the wash. It's all good. That's how come it's good to take different teachers also when you're going on workshops. Take different teachers, because we say the same thing a lot of times, but we say it in different ways. And we felt we do it the way we think is best for the student. You know, I think floating your pigment, is proven to me that I've said it a lot in my classes, and it's always helped me get across the point of putting water and pigment together in that ratio. And if you see it floating, then it means you have enough pigment. And if it's just bleeding a little bit, like if it's too much water and you have a little bit of pigment, it just bleeds all over the place. Again, you're just floating a bunch of this pigment, this dirty color, this sand, this colored dirt in a puddle. All right, so there's the front. Look at this nice, beautiful white head I've got on him. It just blurred it because it was a little wet right there, so I got a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that closer up. See, I got a little bit of a watermark there, but sometimes watermarks are good. All right, and so now let's go into this swan over here. And the same thing, we're going to start with the head. I'm just going to wet the head. Let's take a little bit more spear. Yeah, it's about a 9. A little bit too bittery. But if you like bitter, then this is a decent beer too. It's got a nice after, and I like the orange taste of it. What do they call it? The half-wit beer. And so the top of the head here was a little bit lighter, so I'm going to see. When I want to pull out some pigment, that's when you're floating your pigment, but you want to pull some of that out. If you have enough of it in there, it's easy to pull out because the water and the brush will absorb it, and then you can go back to the light area. And then I can put any color I want in there. It doesn't matter what color you put in there because the color just floats on top of the water. And go right to the edge. And then just come down. And I always just start out with any color, one color. It doesn't have to be the exact color I'm going to end up with. So I'm going down here with this lavender. I always use lavender. And I use, this is Permanent Yellow Light. Oh, no, Permanent Yellow Orange. Permanent Yellow Orange is this one right here. And if I put a little orange in there with the purple, it kind of grays it up. But also makes it a little bit warm. You know, gives it a little warmth to it. And I should be using the Brilliant Orange because that's a little bit more red in there. So maybe I want to use a little bit more of the Brilliant Orange because that, again, has a little bit more red. And that blends together better with the purple or the lavender that I use. Now, lavender has white in it, but it's one of those colors that a lot of artists are using it at the moment. There are a lot of artists that I know that love this color because it's great for grays and just getting a lot of neat colors. It's like the easy to go to color. You don't know what you want to use. Just go to the lavender and just start with the lavender, and you can always put any other color into that color. I also I'm making this look more feathery than the picture is. The picture is kind of is very bland back here, so I made it more of a like a feather. I can soften it a little bit. I can wet it and give it some soft edging too, or keep it really light, like we learned John Pike did the other week. That you can just make it a light value, and then that'll give you the look of a soft edge. Right, and so here's got a little bit light, and so I'm going to darken it up a little bit down here. Still wet. And I know this looks really dark, a lot of these things, but you watch how light this tends to get then when I put the water in. The water goes in, and boy, you watch how all of a sudden you thought this was really dark, and it's not at all. It'll be just really beautiful. And now over here, I'm just going to, again, make little brush strokes for wings and feathers. And the background here has a little bit of something going there, but I'm just going to keep a lot of that white too. Here in the tail, I'm just going to put a little bit of feathers in there. The beaks, they're going to be orange, and the dark head, so I can go right over that. And now that's pretty much the geese, or the swans. The swans, I should say. Now let's go right into the water. So Tabassum asked, in between the swans, right here, I'm guessing in between the swans, do you show the shadow of the second swan? Definitely. You you can show that definitely in there. And the reflection too, I'll do the reflection and really darken there to pop him forward and put them behind. And now this has gotten kind of a watermark, which is kind of a nice watermark. And so I'm going to add to that watermark a little bit by putting a little bit of the violet in there. I'm just going to kind of go in there and just kind of smush it together. You know, knowing what happens when you put water, when you have a watermark, and just work with a watermark sometimes. Try to see if you can make it work for you. And there's ways of taking the watermark and kind of incorporating it and making it something happen with the watermark. So unless you challenge yourself with a piece of paper and just try making watermarks and seeing what you can do with them, that's a good thing. So let's go right into the water up here. I'm going to take my kneaded rubber eraser because this is kind of dark lines in there. I don't want too dark lines, so I'm just going to erase it a little bit or roll my kneaded rubber eraser across it just to lighten up the lines a little bit because I don't want them to shine through, especially if it's a light right there, because the sun's going to come right down through the middle here. I'm going to leave a little bit more of the white this time. If you see on this one, I didn't leave much of the white down here. I did on top here, but I'm going to keep a little bit more down here and then feather it off to darks on both sides this time. And that's, I'm going to start out with some light blue, but this time I'm going to use a little bit more turquoise blue when I do this. And I am going to wet it because I do want soft edges first. You know, I'm going to go through here and just wet it with my round brush, number 16 brush. This is Horizon Blue, by the way. Horizon Blue also has white in it. It's kind of a turquoisey looking blue. And I'm just going to wet it with a little bit of that color so I can see where I'm going with the water. Because if you have water and no pigment in it, sometimes you can't tell what you're doing because it's, you know, basically it's water and there's nothing you can see. So I put a little bit of a tint of this Horizon Blue, which is, you can see, has a little bit of white in it, but that's okay. And again, I'm going to use a little bit of that, and I'm just making it look like waves, basically waves. A little bit more waves than is in the picture. In the picture, it's not too wavy. It's very light waves, you know, gradual waves there. But I decided I want to put like light right down to the middle here and keep this nice and light. And I'm going to get darker with ultramarine blue. I'm going to mix my Horizon with ultramarine blue. And then I just kind of come in here, and it's wet in some spots and dry in some spots, which is okay because then I can get some hard edges in the light area. But as I go away from there, I'm going to want to have it all soft edged. And because I'm trying to direct your eye towards the middle here and the sun. The sun's going to sparkle right there. Now I have to go around the swans, and I know that's sometimes people say, well, can I use masking fluid? Yes, you can. That we can go over that, but I'm just going to try to be careful with it, and because you know that sometimes the masking fluid will rip the paper, and there's all kinds of things you got to watch out for when you're using masking fluid. So I'm going to come down here, and that's pretty much a dark blue or a lighter blue. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to leave a little rim lighting, and then I'm putting in a definite overall blue right there. I'm not going to try to do light right there yet. And if I lose some of the light, that's fine too. I can always go back in there later with white paint and get it back in there. No big deal. And so which side do you pick? Now I started in the middle. Which side do you pick? I'm going to pick and finish this side to right here because that's a small distance right there. And if you notice too, I took the picture and I blew up the swans a little bit more of them from this afternoon. These are look how small they are and how much room I have all up here. So I blew them up a little bit more. I drew them a little bit bigger so that they fill more of the page, and it's more about the swans and not the picture in general. And so I'm going to go right to here. I can stop right here because this is not that important a spot, and I can hide anything I want there. So I'm going to go around this way and get this side done first because it's a large area and I can't stop and get a hard edge there. I don't want to stop there. And so now I'm going to take a nice dark Prussian blue with my ultramarine blue, and I will wet it with this color. And see, I'll go a little bit farther down here. I'll wet it. And again, I'm just wetting the whole thing with not really worrying about the exact color. Just kind of go around the swan, making it kind of nice edge right there. And the swan's beak will be a little orange, and I can get that later. Now I'll take a little bit of the ultramarine blue and the other color and go in there with that, and then just start creating your edges, your little waves that you see there. You drew them in. So I'm just going to do that right away. Go down here, get a little bit of that color. I'm going to leave a little bit of a line, so it's going to be like a little bit of a rim lighting. And again, this is all wet now, so now I'm going to work this area so it becomes a really beautiful looking, and I'm put a little yellow in there to make it turquoise. A little bit more yellow. Because what's happening is this is actually a reflection from the trees or a tree line or something that's reflecting in there as a dark, and it's probably trees with green leaves, and so that's why you're getting the green inside that water reflecting dark. But first I go down here and I'm gonna go down to this first line, hard edge line, where I'm gonna show a little ripple in the paper. In between the, if there is time at the end, could you make comments or advice on value or not of entering art contest? Or how does someone get into watercolor societies like the well-known ones? Oh boy, that's a big, that's a big, yeah, I can get into that a little bit. That's very, we were actually talking about that in class today. About, you know, it's very, sometimes it could be, you know, it's about how some big people are pretty well known and they're got some really good styles that are, you know, so it's a tough thing. So now I'm putting a little bit of quinacridone gold into my blue, dark blues, because I want this to be really dark up here. I want this to be dark, and it's going to come over across here. And we're going to come around here. And so in a week, speaking of shows, the TWSA, Transparent Watercolor Society of America, will be deciding their show, and I entered that one. I'm hoping I get in this year, but we don't know until the first week in March. We're finding out. We're going to find out. So we'll see. Would love to get into that one this year, because that'll be my 10th time I've gotten into that show. So that would be really kind of nice if I can get in. Then I'll get my master's award. I'll be getting a master's degree. So we're going to go in here a little bit. So it's a little bit darker. See, it's a little bit darker. It's pushing it. Look at how bright this swan looks now. And I kind of cut into the bill a little bit more, so I can maybe white that out a little bit on the edge. And so we'll see about that. You're going to take a little bit thicker paint, and it's still wet, and just going to float some of this turquoise into this area. And so you still get some waves. I still want to make it super, super dark over here. Super dark, and so I'm going to use a little bit of Prussian blue with black and a little green. And I want to get it super, super dark this time. I just feel like if I get it really dark in this area, and that's what some of my students were suggesting, I make it nice and dark on this area, and then bring it down. How much time do we have here? Okay, we got almost 5. All right, so let's keep this side alone, leave the side alone now, and have, oh, see, I left it there because that's going to be hard edges for the waves, and so I can stop there. I don't have to watch that area. When you're doing soft edges, now you have to watch sometimes if you're not going on, but that can be a hard edge, so that's fine. I can make a hard edge from there later on too. Here we're going to do a little bit darker edges, and okay, now to this side, we're going to bring a couple of these waves across here. And this last painting I didn't do this. I kept this side light, but I want the light to be centered right down here, and so I'm gonna do a little bit more of these like little short waves, these little waves going through here, and then we'll go a little bit darker. Not as dark as this, but dark enough. And again, I'm gonna try to do a little bit more turquoise, so I'm adding a little bit of green, which is my quinacridone gold, to that. I'm gonna come around here now and wet it as I go along. Give myself a little bit of a rim lighting there. Kind of go around. And people are asking, you know, how tight you want to get. That's very, very personal. You know, it's to the person. You know, some people are very tight. Some people are very loose. You know, if you're a sloppy person, you're probably going to do better with a loose painting. If you're a little bit tight and you're really, you know, everything in your house is super, super clean, you're pretty much going to be a tight, more tight. You want the line to be lined up right to the line that you drew, and so it's all depends on what kind of personality you have and what is you. You know, what do you do? And so that's and those are the kind of things you really. It's hard to change those things because that's part of you, and that's fine. You don't have to, you know, paint like me or anybody else. You want to have your own style, and so that just means you paint a lot of paintings, and you progress to a style. A style is something you learn as you go along. It's something you like, and you just, all the classes you've taken, you know, it just kind of becomes part of you. Is that kind of paper you're using? Like I always told the people last night when I was doing color pencil drawings, and I was like, you know, it's this is new to me because I really have never done a live pencils demonstration. But you know, I was trying on 3 different papers, and you look again on my Facebook page, you'll see what I just posted, what I had done at the demonstration yesterday. And it's that's the way I do the pencils. It's not like everybody else does pencil work. If you go to some of these pencil societies, it's super tight photographic imagery, but that's not me. And so I told them right away, this is all going to be different from what you're probably used to as a artist who is a pencil artist, a pencil society artist, or a color pencil artist, and so it's going to be different, which it really was, because I am not one that goes really tight. And so now I'm going to go down here, and like the Bassam said, I'm going to go in here and make those dark reflections of that. It's going to be a dark reflection like you see in there, and also shadowing. The shadowing of this swan against that swan and against the water. But first I'm going to go in here with a lighter color first, because that's not the shadow. This is the color of the water first. So I'm getting the color of the water first, and then I'll go in there with the color of the reflections and shadows. And reflections and shadow are 2 different things. People got to realize it's not the same thing. This you see in the photo is a reflection into the water, but it's also a shadow. It's shadowed because it's like on the other side of the sun. So it's going to be also a shadow in a way, because it's the shadow of the neck of the bird in there as a reflection. So you're getting kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay. I better drink on that one. Cheers, everybody. Let's see what we got here. Why did you go for blue rather than turquoise? Well, maybe on your screen, it's pretty greenish turquoise on my paper. My screen is making it look a lot bluer than it is. It's kind of weird because my screen says it's blue, but my actual painting is very turquoise, very greenish blue. But the dark part is blue, but it's a variety. And I also have purple in that blue, which is really weird. It doesn't show on the screen. Sorry, not sure why that is. Now we'll go down here. Come down here now with my with a big wash across everything now. And then this is going to be the soft edge stuff. So I'm getting the soft waves, and then I will put the reflections on top of that with a dark wash. This is just the overall light wash that I'm putting in here now. And so I'm just going to pick up blue with a little turquoise here. I'm putting in cracking gold, so it actually turns green. And if I'm looking up there, it's not right here. Now I'm looking up on my screen, and it's blue, and here it is green. That's so weird. I'm not sure why that works that way. My monitor must be not calibrated too well. It is very green. I'm not sure. What are you guys seeing? Are you guys seeing green or blue? That's very, I mean, yeah, I'm not used to working this green. And it's actually as green as with the picture up here. It's kind of like that green is actually what it is. Because if I'm using quinacridone gold, that makes it more of a greenish turquoise. And so here now the waves. Comes the waves, and then I come around here nice and hard edged, and then I go through here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of white for the reflection of the duck here. The swan. So I'm gonna leave that little white. And then I will go with this turquoise again. See how there's a little green in there? Now you see that's really green. That is almost like lime green. And on my screen it looks just regular green, but that's really dark. All right, so there are my all my lights, and now that's my middle tones pretty much. I did get some darks in here, but now I'm going to go for my reflections and my really darks. But because this is wet, and let's get some of the soft edges in here. But because it's wet, I'm going to go for doing the face really quickly, so they'll just dry a little bit so I can get some hard edges. I do want some hard edges. I don't want everything to be soft edged. I want to show, because this is my center of interest area in here, and so I'm going to want to have some hard edges in there. And there's no problem with that being hard edged. or soft edge too here. And then get it really dark this time, because I left this part really light on the last one, and I didn't like that as much as what I'm going to like now. Because now it'll really, I mean, down the center, it's going to be really bright. And I'll put these little dashes in there later down too. Because these are not the waves yet. These are the mild waves. These are the soft waves that are in here. And it's not reflections, they're just the waves, the value of the waves, the shadowing part of the wave. And then the reflections you'll see, the reflections will make it look like really like water, because you're seeing the reflection in the water then. Yeah, so usually when I post it next day, if I post it, you see the true colors. It's just so weird. I guess with my cameras, it maybe doesn't pick up, or I don't have them calibrated. Maybe I have to look into that. I see blue. My your friend says it's all about the settings, the camera, the time of day, the lighting, the prisms, etc. Way above my head. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that too to see what these webcams, what they, because like I said, you'll see the really true color. It is really green, and it's on my screen. Like I said, it's very blue. All right, so let's let that dry a little bit so I can get hard edges. Now let's go right into the face, and I use my smaller brush and just get that all done right away. Because then, you know, you can wait for it to dry, but then when I go into these areas up on top here, I'm just going to go right away, get the beak, which is orange, so I'll just go right in there. How much time do we have anyways? Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh boy, ask questions. And so I'll go down here, get a nice beak in there. Here on this, oh, put my hand right into the wetness. So I'll go like this, and make it nice and orange. And actually I'm putting just one, using brilliant orange, and then I'll put a little bit darker on the side, which I'll use a little bit of Scarlet Lake. And with this messy palette, I'll just use a little blue that's right there. And I know that'll turn it nice and kind of burgundy. And so I'll do it on the side. And it's pretty dark, the side of their beaks are pretty dark. So by adding a little bit of blue to this mix of orange and red that I used, it'll make it kind of like a burgundy. And then I'm going to go for solid black for the head. Because there's a part of his head, and if you look into the bird or the swan, that it is like almost solid black up here. So why not you just use black? Don't have to mix your black, just get in there with black and put it down. And it's so dark that you don't even see the eyes. You know, you don't see the eye. It's so dark in there. And you don't even want to hint it. It's too small to start hinting it, like a reflection in the eye or something like that. Don't worry about that. And so over here too, I'm just going to do the eye part where the eyes up here comes down. And let me look at the picture. Let me look at the other one. Okay, that goes down to here, comes up, comes around, front of the head. All right, and that's going to bleed a little bit, but that's okay, because not everything has to be hard-edged. You know, it's nice to have soft edges. It gives you more feeling in your work if you can get some soft edges in there. So there's the heads. Look at how nice they look. Aren't they cute? And you can also put in feathers, like you can put in some of the, like this part right here, it's a little bit darker. So I'm going to go in there with a little bit of violet and a little bit of my dirty palette here. Gotta rinse out my black first. Get some lavender, a little violet up here. And right here, I'm going to do some edges, hard edge. And I'm going to take water and just bleed it into this area and make it like a wisping motion so it actually looks like a feather. I mean, these birds have feathers, and so by just doing wisping, it gives it that look of a feather. Don't be afraid of a little wisping, and it can be dry brush too, and if you can pick up a little bit of the texture of the paper, that's fine. You know, it's fine. And up in front here, I'm just going to do a little bit texture of feathers. Now, usually I don't like doing too much on a wash, but because it is nice to have the look of feathers there, so by putting another wash across the top of it, sometimes it'll make it look grayer. But just be careful. Now I wet it a little bit again here, and I'm just going to wisp it. And then there's the feather right here, gets a little darker. So why not just wet this whole area here with a little bit bigger brush, like a 1/2-inch brush. I'm going to take and wet this part of the wing. Kind of comes down here. I'm going to re-wet it. I didn't get it dark enough the first time, so if I re-wet it and then put enough pigment, it'll look like a first wash. And then it'll separate the front wing from the back part. So I'm going to go in here with a little bit hard edge right now because it's dry underneath here. Just going to kind of wisp it in there. And then maybe a little bit darker yet, even yet. A little bit darker, maybe a little bit more lavender. Ooh, that's a little bit too dark. Whoa, slow down. And that's a little bit too dark. So we're gonna just take that out there a little bit. There we go. No big deal. Kind of come up here. Now this is wet. I re-wet this area so I can go in here and it's all gonna blend together on its own. And that's floating your pigment. I'm not doing it. It's doing it on its own because I re-wet it and I didn't disturb the surface too much, so it's enough to leave it undisturbed, and then you just put water on it. And you can use that spray bottle too, but then it's going to mist everything. So I didn't use it at this time because I didn't think it was necessary. I can go in there with just with the brush and just kind of wet it. And I'm only doing this one because this one's more important than this one back here. He's okay or she's okay. And then we found out that the male swan is a cob and the female is a pen. So that's what that's their name. Cob. A male swan is a cob, and a female is a pen. So you learn something new from here every time. Can you recommend one of the Holbein darkest transparent blues for me? I use Prussian. I like Prussian. I know the darkest one is probably phthalo blue, which is very transparent, but it's very staining. So if you want a staining color, use phthalo blue, and it's a really dark blue. But I use Prussian, which is a little bit staining, but it's a beautiful color. Have I heard of Marion Broom? No, I haven't. I'll have to look her up. Really late, start over. Thanks, Marianne. Let's just rewind it. You can see it when you post it tomorrow. Okay. So now I think this is all pretty much dry. How much time do we have here? Oh, we're not even at 15 after yet. So now I'm waiting for this to dry, and feel it with the back of your fingers so you don't feel it with the front with your oily fingers. And it is dry already. See that? Look at how fast that goes. And so now we're going to go in with a really dark blue, and I'm going to say, like I said to Tina, I'm using and also if you wanted to use a black with a blue, you can make it dark. You can use ultramarine and add black to it. It makes it pretty dark. It's going to be a little bit grayer, a blue, but hey, if you want to make a blue, it'll still be transparent. And a lot of times transparency depends also on how you use it. I'm going to put a little black into this Prussian blue. It's going to be really dark. And that's okay, because I want it to be really dark. So I'm going to go in here now, and I'm doing the reflection right down here. See, it's just got another reflecting into this. And again, I'm using one color at first, and I'm not doing exactly like the photo because I'm doing these little swirls. So I'm going to follow that around a little bit and break it up a little bit because water has a little the curve. It goes up and down like that, and so one part will be darker, and then you get the light shining in towards your eye, and that's not going to have dark in it. So anytime you want to learn something, go out there in the real world and look at it and study it. See what it looks like in the real world and study it, and then sketch it out there, and then you'll know. And memorize it too, so that you have to memorize what it actually is happening out there with water. That's what I do when I did the sparkles and stuff. I went to the ocean in Florida and I just studied what was happening when and where the sparkle hits. And the sparkle hits on the top of the wave, at the very top where it points towards your eye. That's where the sparkle happens. And so I'm going to go here, make this nice and dark. Again, Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, black, maybe a little purple. And then once it's down, you can also put some of the warmth in there too. But after, I'm going to show you. And copy the photograph if you want to a T. That's fine. I mean, it's a nice photograph. I just want this to be a little bit more ripply than the water is in the picture. And all right, so there we have it, and it goes all the way down. So that's that, and let me put a little bit of the color of the swan in there. So a little bit of what I have in there was a little bit of the orange, the brilliant orange. I'll put that in there a little bit. It's still really dark, but it'll get a hint of it in there, and so it'll look like it's reflecting a little bit of that, because it's a darker. I call these shadow reflections, because it's a reflection of the swan in the shadow side, so it makes it darker in the water. So I call it shadow reflection. I'm not sure what other people call it, or if they even have to call it anything. It's just a reflection or a shadow. or it's basically a reflection. It's just I like to call it a shadow reflection because there is dark to it, and because a lot of times you would see this on a clean lake and it would be white. I mean, it would be white down there because it's very calm, and so you'd see the white into the water. But here it's more of a shadow reflection. Now this guy over here. Another thing we learned is that the male swan is a little bit bigger, and that's the only reason, the way you could probably tell. And it's hard to identify the if it's a male or a female by markings or anything. It's just more the bigger the bird, that's how you kind of tell. We were wondering about we were trying to learn about swans. It's good to know whatever you're painting. It's good to know what it is about, know your subject matter. Know your subject matter. Very important. Like when I draw boats, I know a lot about boats because I like boating. I love everything about boats, and so when I do something, I may put something in there that's not even in the picture because I know that boat would have it on there. And so maybe with a swan, if you know them real well, you know that the leg sticks out a certain point, and you know what to do with that area. And so it's good to know those things. And I just noticed that the wing actually goes down here, and it kind of goes like this way. Put a little bit of pink in here, because this is part of the wing. It goes up here. I just noticed I'm going to blend that right into the water then, so it doesn't. I don't want it to be so hard edged there that I want it to be some parts a little bit softer and some parts can be hard edged. You never want to just do always one thing. It's nice to have both soft and hard edges in there. And this kind of goes up a little bit. Now let's get the neck going down here. And we're almost done with the sparkle, right? We still got plenty of time. We've got time for the sparkle. I don't know if Paul, I'm not sure if I have time to talk about winning or getting into art shows. I should maybe do a newsletter on that one day. I'll probably get myself in trouble. No, it's oh look, it's not lined up. Oh, I didn't line it up. It's way over to the right. Line up your head down below because it doesn't bend. Reflections do not bend into the water, so I'm just gonna make it bigger, like it's a bigger reflection. Watch those reflections. And then I'm going to do some little bit of shadow in the tail here. There's a little shadow. Let's see. Here we're going to go a little bit darker. A little bit of that in there. See, it's good to have a little detail in here and there. Put a little detail. And here I'm going to make it a little bit darker, get some soft edges in here too. And also I noticed that if you look really close on the picture, the one's mouth, you can see like a difference between the bottom of the beak and the top of the beak, and there's actually a line. That way you can make them look like you're smiling. Make them all happy little geese. Happy little geese. Time for a drink. Cheers everybody, cheers. All right, it's full of light. Yes, you wait until I sparkle it. Okay, so I think that's pretty much for our reflections. Now let's go in with our white paint. I'm going to show you where I put the sparkle. And actually, let me put a little bit of medium tone in some here. So, because they're also middle tone, so if something's too bright or too white, then just put a little bit of a tint over it to be fine. And so here we're going to do a little bit of the same thing. I'm going to put a little tint through here, making more waves going through here. Because if I just have all white there already, then the white paint is not going to show up. And I'm going to use a little bit thicker this time because the last time it started getting not white, and you really would like to get super white in there. You want to have a nice lighting effect. And so I'm going to take really thick white. And it's almost going to be opaque. Well, that's okay though. I'm just going to dot it. Little dots. And so I make it pretty thick. I make little lines on top of the wave where it's changing. where it's changing the top of the color is where you want to put it. And if you look out there in the real world, man, sometimes there's so many sparkles, it's unbelievable. It's like a million sparkles on there. I wouldn't recommend spattering it unless you're like have a sloppy looking kind of technique that you're using, then go ahead. But I don't think I would spatter on mine right now because it's kind of tight in certain places. Put a little dots down here. And also different size dots, and I mean they're so bright that they're shining in your eye, basically is what's happening. And I'm also going to put a couple lines in there, like the top of the wave. You can do that too. And little squiggly lines to show like the movement of the waves. Like down here, I'm just going to kind of come down and just going to do a couple little squiggly, swirly whirls. Technical term for... Let's see, put little dots in here. Because it's going to be through here, I want to have a couple little dots. You should have fun with this one. Everybody had, in class, we all had fun, and we all came out with pretty decent stuff. So have fun with this one. It's a little bit different. It's easy. It's, you know, as long as you get the drawing right, make sure you get your drawing. Drawing's number one. Remember, drawing is number one. Go number one. Go number one. And now we're going to do the little rim lighting here, and a bit more water. I also told my students I've got to get a new set of brushes. These are I've done about 1,000 paintings with these brushes, and they're starting to wear off a little bit. You know, my brushes are very good, and they stay to a point for a real long time. But if you're going to do 1,000 paintings or so with a brush, they're starting to lose their, well, not really, they're not losing their point, or they're losing their point a little bit, but I can get it back by just wetting it, and it comes together. But I wouldn't mind having a new brush because it's a little bit longer, that sharp point is a little bit longer. And I'm kind of losing that, but it's been like, I think this is about 8 years old, these brushes that I'm using, the ones I put the red handle on. And so for 8 years, and the price, they're pretty good priced. And so I think I'm going to buy myself a new set for myself. I just put in an order in, and I have to put in an order for 100 brushes each one. So I got a lot of brushes right now if you need brushes. Sparkle, look at a nice sparkle coming through here. We're going to do little reflections and a little bit of like swirly whirls again. Little dots of, it just makes it look, because the water has so many reflections. It's all over the place. All the little light white reflecting water, and the light reflecting into the water. That's what I love. I was telling him I love doing boats, and basically these are swan boats. You know, I love doing boats, but this could be like these could be like swan boats. And now I notice that this is a little bit too light right here, so I'm gonna put a little bit darker right there, a little turquoise on this guy here. I'm just gonna put a little bit of, and at the same time I can darken him up and make him pop a little bit farther forward. And make some of those darker edged. Bring it over here. But see, I'm keeping those soft. I want you to go look over there. I want you to look right down the center here and look at the center of interest, which is right in this area. The swing and the bird himself. And here's some shadow. There's a little shadow coming across here. And then there's a little shadow from, like Bassam was saying, a little shadow from this bird onto that bird. And that way I can make it a little bit darker. You can show the feathers going by negative painting the feathers from that bird. Okay, I think we're close to almost done. Let me see if there are any questions. The sparkles do make a difference. It boils down to the end too. It really does. I mean, when you get these white in there, it really makes it sparkle. I mean, it really heightens. And if you didn't have the sparkles, like the photograph didn't have sparkles in it, but once you put them in, it's amazing how it changes it. It really makes the sun come out. Makes the sun look like it's really right back there and it's really popping out. And so definitely get the sparkle in there and give it a shot. Here, I'm just going to make this white through here. And you got to watch because the sparkle really is, it doesn't go really wide a lot of times. It could, because the sun is so
the whole sky is lit up, but watch it that you don't make it dots all over the place. Just and now these are, see how they're, because it's wet here, they're getting that as white, and so you don't see them. So I'm gonna get some of that pro white, and so it's pure white. Or I always even say if it's dry, use a when it's dry, do it when it's dry, and then use a pencil, like a white pencil, or maybe even acrylic paint, and put the dots in so they don't bleed. There's no transparency to them. We want them nice and white, because they are, again, they are dots, and it should be like a sparkle. It's a sparkle, so you don't need a mid-tone on the sparkle. You just need it to be white, basically white. So isn't this fun watching me just do dots? Kind of the boringest part to watch. Alright, I noticed the sparkles dance all over the water. Amazing. No thanks, Tabasum. And love these swans. Everybody likes these swans for some reason. This is a very popular one today. So let me just take this masking fluid off. Not masking fluid, the masking tape. And come on. I used a little bit bigger paper because I used it from the block, and because I don't have any more sheets available at the moment, because the 300 pound, they don't have it available at the moment, and so I'm waiting for them to get a shipment in because of the Stonehenge 300 pound, because I'm a 300 pound person. I like 300 pound a little bit more than the, oh wait, I still got to do around the beak. I didn't put enough weight there. Last thing, we'll have plenty of time. So around the beak I want to do rim lighting, and so really nice rim lighting around the beak, and I can control the look of the beak then too. Around the head. There we go. See how nice the rim lighting, that just brightens it up a little bit on the edge here. Alright, now I can take it off again. Come on. This is some really good tape. Pull away from your painting, always pull away. Don't pull it up, pull it away from the painting. Even with the painting too, like this, it will never rip it. I've never ripped anything to do that. Okay. There we go, pull away. Alright, so let me just show you the difference between this afternoon's and this one. And if you have any questions, again, you can always email me if you have a question with your painting. There is my website on Facebook, the Facebook page. We will answer. A lot of you have been helping out, answering questions to some of the people. So you can see smaller birds. It's sparkly, but see how this one is more about the birds, because they're up the size of the birds. I feel that the darks is a little bit better. I could probably put a few darks in here, sorry, real quickly. I think a few dark here would be good to show a little bit more of the waves. Okay, that's better. And so, you know, it's always the second one. You take what you did in the first one, and you kind of look and see what it is you can make it better. This may be a little bit light. I may have to put a little wash over this white there a little bit. But okay, so there you have it, guys. Thanks again, and post your images on my BeckerArt Facebook page. It's called BeckerArt Group if you're looking for it, and you can find it on my website. You can find everything on my website, BeckerArt.net or DavidRBecker.com. And we will see you next Thursday, and we will have no idea what we're painting next week. I never do until about Sunday, because I have to make my newsletter on Tuesday, and you get it on Tuesday. For anybody who's new here, you pick it up on my newsletter also on Tuesday. All right, so until next Thursday, see you guys later. Bye-bye.